Captain Ryan Drake first sensed the thunder of calamity in the cockpit of his cargo vessel, the stalwart Dawn. Though he was no stranger to unforeseen turbulence, the severity of these alarms shook him to the core. Lights on the control panels winked and flickered, all systems registering errors in bright red. A steady shudder ran through the hull, telling him that the ship had taken a violent blow, though from what, he could not yet determine. Yet his mind, steeled by years of training, clung to calmness. He inhaled slowly. He exhaled in measured segments, each breath a vain effort to focus on the tasks at hand. He knew the route to Veridian, for well enough, an outpost known for its pristine research facilities, gleaming solar panels, and rich biodiversity that no one had fully cataloged. He had flown cargo to many far-flung corners of the galaxy, from ice-laden comets to scorching desert worlds. Indeed, he thought he was prepared for any cosmic quirk or mechanical failure that might beset him. But fate had woven him a different destiny this day. Alarms blared. The gravitational pull of Veridian, for was closer than he liked, tugging the stalwart Dawn relentlessly downward. His efforts to stabilize the main thrusters proved futile. The ship's hull groaned like a wounded beast, each lurch making the pilot's heart sink further into dread. Even the emergency landing procedures refused to engage, the panel's frantic blinking mocking his attempts to control the unstoppable descent. Alarms, lights, sparks, chaos threatened to devour him whole. He leaned forward in his chair, sweat glistening on his forehead beneath his flight helmet. He could see the planet's surface looming larger and larger. Verdant forests, gentle hills, and reflections of solar arrays came into terrifying clarity. He glimpsed what might have been the edges of a colony's settlement, rectangular fields of technology interspersed with farmland and vegetation. There was no time to wonder how advanced or welcoming the outpost might be. The only thing he could do was brace for impact. The final seconds stretched in slow motion, the whine of metal, the furious trembling of the deck plates, and the overshadowing sense of finality. He bit his lip as the ship collided with the planet's atmosphere. Fire licked the windows, swirling in sheets of red and orange. Great arcs of plasma whipped past. Ryan's heart hammered in his chest, and he prayed silently for a miracle. Yet he could not fully steel himself for the moment of impact. The last thought that crossed his mind was not of duty or fear, but an image from his childhood, an old photograph of him playing by a lakeside under a golden sun. Then the ground rushed up, and he felt a bone-shaking jolt. The cockpit lights died at once. With a final groan, the stalwart Dawn met Veridian, for in a cacophony of twisting metal and an explosion of debris, darkness engulfed him, so total that it seemed to reach beyond mere unconsciousness, plunging him into some deeper void of existence. When Ryan awoke, a throbbing, deep ache permeated every fiber of his being. No stinging overhead lights greeted him. Instead, a cool, soothing atmosphere whispered around him. He blinked slowly, registering the unfamiliar textures, the faint hiss of air filtration, the unusual warmth around his prone body, the sense of being lifted by some sort of levitation pad or advanced hospital bed. His eyelids seemed leaden, and it took a colossal effort to open them fully. He found himself in a sterile medical bay. The walls were curved, each surface bearing designs that defied the block-like geometry of standard human architecture. Instrument panels dotted the walls, glowing with a soft luminescence, more akin to bioluminescent organisms than the blinking LED screens he was used to. The air carried a trace of sweetness, reminiscent of honey and meadow grass, with an undertone of a subtle, alien fragrance that Ryan could not identify. He lifted his gaze, noticing the figure standing over him. A tall, slender being with lustrous violet skin, large silver eyes that glowed faintly, and hair so fine it looked spun from moonlight. She wore a form-fitting robe of pearlescent material. For several moments, the pilot merely stared at her, uncertain if he was dreaming, hallucinating, or drifting through some phantom corner of existence. But when she spoke, her voice was gentle, lilting, and very real. "My name is Dr. Alira," she said, the syllables dancing between a melodic accent and a calm, clinical tone. "How do you feel?" Ryan opened his mouth, but no words formed. A dryness clung to his throat, and an acute pain lanced through his shoulders and ribs. He settled for a ragged cough instead. Her expression shifted. Something like compassion flickered in those large eyes. She lifted a small, curved container and pressed it gently against Ryan's lips, allowing a cool, sweet liquid to trickle into his mouth. Relief spread through him. The dryness ebbed, replaced by a subtle comfort in his parched throat. Then his words tumbled forth, though quieter than he had intended. "Where am I?" "You are in the colony's medical facility, just outside the main settlement on Veridian 4, she replied. "Your ship crashed. We found you in the wreckage, gravely injured. You've been unconscious for several days." His head pounded with the weight of unformed questions. "Days?" he murmured, eyes trailing down to his own body. His torso was wrapped in some strange gauze that shimmered faintly, almost as if it were alive. He saw faint tubes winding from the medical bed into the wall, carrying fluids of varying colors. An odd device clasped around his right arm, humming softly like a purring cat. Are there others?" Dr. Alira's expression became somber. "You were the only survivor," she answered, voice tinged with regret. "We recovered your flight logs. It seems you were alone on the cargo vessel. No other passengers or crew were registered on board." A sigh escaped Ryan's lips, heavy with exhaustion. Relief coexisted with sorrow at the final confirmation of his solitary fate. He tried to shift, but agony flared from his midsection, causing him to wince. Her slender hand rested gently on his shoulder, a gesture that conveyed sympathy. The sensation of her touch, cool, soothing, surprisingly reassuring, stilled him. "Your injuries are extensive," she continued calmly, "and by the standards of standard human medicine, irreparable. You damaged your spine, skull, and internal organs quite severely. However, my people are advanced in the healing arts. We will do all that we can." Her silver eyes glowed softly, and Ryan sensed a sincerity in her words that transcended mere professional duty. Yet, beneath her caring tone, there lurked a hint of uncertainty. As if aware of the delicate question forming in his mind, Alira hesitated, exhaled, and then mustered her resolve. "But I must be honest with you, Captain Drake. Our methods of healing are not entirely akin to your own. Some are highly unconventional by human standards. We rely on certain biological properties that my species possesses, one I carry within my own body. If you consent to these treatments, you may yet recover, but the process may have side effects. Will you trust me?" Ryan's breath caught. Fear warred with desperation. Any sense of defiance faded, confronted by the unyielding weight of his injuries. He could barely move, and every breath cost him an eternity of pain. If this being, this alien doctor, had the power to save him, who was he to refuse? He swallowed his doubts. "Yes," he whispered, "I trust you." Relief softened her features. She moved with graceful swiftness toward a table of instruments, carefully drawing a small vial of milky fluid. She knelt beside him and explained that the fluid was secreted by her own species, an essence that facilitated cellular regeneration at a remarkable rate. Ryan felt his chest tighten at the thought of ingesting or otherwise absorbing some alien secretion, but his pain outweighed disgust or moral hesitation. He tilted his head back, parted his lips, and swallowed the mixture, a faint warmth igniting in his throat. What followed defied any measure of normalcy. A soft glow suffused his vision, dancing behind his closed eyelids. The dryness in his throat vanished. His limbs, formerly cold and numb, stirred with renewed life. He felt a surge, a gentle tide of warmth that washed away pain. Though exhaustion soon overwhelmed him, he lingered briefly in the comforting presence of relief before slumber claimed him. The days merged into a strange tapestry of half-remembered experiences. Each time Ryan drifted near the boundaries of consciousness, Dr. Alira stood ready with her vials of that milky essence. Sometimes the fluid was administered orally, other times through the humming device attached to his arm. With each treatment, color returned to his cheeks. The horrific bruises receded from purple blotches to faint outlines. Even a cracked rib, which he had believed would throb mercilessly, felt healed within a mere week. But as his vitality returned, new sensations arose. Subtle at first, like fleeting sparks of awareness that flickered at the edge of his mind. He found himself scanning the room differently, as if his senses had sharpened. The lights, though soft, now seemed to swirl with faint auras, The sterile aroma of the medical bay layered itself with countless hidden undertones, traces of antiseptics, metallic tangs, and hints of Dr. Alira's unique scent. It was as though a door had been opened within his very being, granting him passage to a richer, more nuanced perception. Soon, Alira deemed him well enough to rise from the medical bed. Assisted by an auxiliary exoskeleton, he wobbled across the gleaming floor. While he could not yet traverse the corridors unassisted, it was a far cry from his earlier state, pinned and helpless under the weight of his injuries. Her people's healing was no mere theoretical marvel. It was a practical miracle. He felt grateful, indebted, and a little apprehensive. "We shall keep your exoskeleton on for another few days," Alira explained one afternoon, guiding him through an exercise routine in a small, open space within the medical bay. She placed her slender hands at his elbows, steadying his stance. "Your muscles need time to recover their strength, but your bones and organs have knitted together surprisingly well." "You have my thanks," Ryan managed, focusing on a step that no longer pained him. "I don't know how to repay you." Her eyes, gleaming like polished silver, looked deeply into his. "The well-being of every life form under my care is repayment enough. But in truth, the cost of our healing is far from trivial. It exacts a toll on the donor as well." She paused, a wavering hint in her voice. "I do not wish for you to feel any burden of guilt, Captain. Your life was in danger, and we saved you." He regarded her, noticing how her once brilliant violet skin had dimmed slightly over the past days. A pang of concern tugged at him. "Are you all right? You mentioned the donor. Is that donor you?" Alira averted her gaze briefly. "Yes. The essence can only be harvested from a few among our people, those like me, whose biology resonates with a rare gene. We produce it in limited quantities, and it requires significant energy. But please, do not worry. This is my duty, my privilege. I would do it 1,000 times over to save a life." He nodded, unsure how to respond. Gratitude rose in him, mingled with admiration for her dedication. In that moment, an unexpected warmth ignited in his chest, as though a bond was forming that transcended medical necessity. He tried to dismiss the notion. He was a patient, she was a physician, but something unspoken passed between them, an undercurrent of empathy so profound it almost startled him. Embarrassed, he forced himself to focus on the exercise at hand. As Ryan regained stability, Dr. Alira encouraged him to venture beyond the confines of the medical wing. The colony, though modest in scale, boasted technological wonders that surpassed many human outposts. Buildings were formed from specialized organic composites that adapted to shifts in the environment. Lush gardens grew inside domed enclosures, each producing a bounty of alien flora that provided nourishment and raw materials for her people. Alira accompanied him through winding hallways and into a courtyard that opened to Veridian 4's gentle sun. It was a calm afternoon, the sky a serene turquoise. Soft breezes carried the tang of sweet blossoms. Towering overhead were the solar panel arrays, vast, shimmering constructs that gathered the star's energy. He recognized them from those last, panicked moments before the crash, and the memory rippled through him, bittersweet. Where once he had dreaded these same arrays as a sign of impending doom, now they stood as a testament to life and renewal. Other Veridians, similarly violet-skinned and graceful, wandered the courtyard. Some conversed in hushed tones while others tended to clusters of exotic flowers, each bloom shimmering with subtle phosphorescence. A few paused to regard Ryan. Their expressions ranged from polite curiosity to guarded wariness. Yet none were openly hostile. Instead, they showed him the same measure of quiet hospitality that seemed woven into their culture. He offered a nod, mustering a small smile, feeling both like a welcome guest and a peculiar oddity. Later, Alira led him into an expansive atrium within the colony's central hub. Glass walls let in beams of sunlight that illuminated patterns etched into the floor. Each pattern told a story of her people, of how they journeyed among the stars, forging alliances, studying environments, healing those in need. Curiosity spurred Ryan to trace a fingertip along one intricate carving depicting a grand exodus from a distant star system. He marveled at the sense of artistry and tradition embedded in every surface. He turned to Alira. "Your culture is rich," he said softly. "I've traveled many systems, but I've never encountered anything quite like this. It feels alive. Your architecture, your designs, they breathe." She nodded, a smile playing on her lips. "In many ways, they do. Our technology is symbiotic with our natural environment, grown rather than manufactured. We find harmony this way, a resonance between living tissue and integrated systems." Ryan glanced at her hands, recalling how she had effortlessly manipulated complex medical devices. "You mentioned that your species is facing some difficulties? We haven't spoken of it in detail, but I sensed a weight in your words." Her expression grew solemn. For a moment, silence reigned in the atrium. Then she inclined her head in a nod that signaled trust. "Yes, our population has declined over the last few generations. Fertility rates have plummeted, and the crucial gene that allows for this advanced healing has grown exceedingly rare. A once thriving civilization now finds itself on the brink of extinction if a solution cannot be found." Her gaze fell upon him with a haunting intensity. "Our attempts to revitalize the gene within our own species have yielded scant results. But cosmic fate, if you choose to call it that, delivered you to us, carrying within you a genetic sequence unexpectedly compatible with our biology. When I administered my essence to heal your wounds, it didn't merely knit your tissues. It began weaving a bridge between your human genes and ours. That we even discovered such synergy is unprecedented." A chill coursed through Ryan's veins, not entirely unpleasant, more akin to awe. "So you're saying, I'm transforming? That I'm no longer fully human?" Alira sighed. "It is subtle. The changes are less about making you one of us and more about opening a channel in your DNA that resonates with ours. At first, I thought it merely an anomaly, but with each round of healing therapy, the resonance intensifies. It's altering you from within, rewriting small fragments of your biology. You might perceive changes in your senses, stamina, perhaps certain physical attributes. Does this alarm you?" Ryan exhaled, pressing a hand to his chest. Indeed, he had noticed fleeting yet remarkable differences in himself, an elevation of perception that both intrigued and unsettled him. But fear, which would have been natural, did not fully rule him now. Instead, he felt a deepening sense of connection to Alira, to her people's plight. "Strangely, I'm not frightened," he said at last. "I trust you, and I owe you my life. If my body can help your people, then so be it." A flicker of gratitude lit her eyes. In that moment, the edges of formality melted away. They were no longer simply doctor and patient. They were two souls forging an alliance, a kinship deeper than mere survival. As the weeks progressed, that kinship blossomed into a profound bond. Under Alira's vigilant care, Ryan's physical therapy advanced swiftly. Day by day, he cast aside more of the exoskeleton's support. He learned to navigate the corridors unassisted, to climb steps, and even venture into the colony's research labs, where he observed Veridian scientists at work. The more he immersed himself in this new world, the more he felt it resonated with him in ways he never expected. There was a quiet poetry in the Veridians' daily rhythm. The communal morning gatherings, where a gentle chorus rose in greeting to the day's new sun. The thoughtful, deliberate approach to every aspect of life, from meal preparation to the cultivation of living structures that served as homes and laboratories. Even the engineering compartments, typically the loud domain of clanking machinery, thrummed with a gentle hum that reminded him of biological processes more than mechanical clatter. Alira became his guide not just through halls and courtyards, but also through the intricacies of her culture. She told him of how their civilization had once spread across multiple star systems, forging alliances through their healing gifts. Entire galaxies had welcomed them, respecting their vow to preserve life whenever possible. Yet some centuries ago, a cataclysmic event struck their home world, fracturing the continuum of genetic lines that sustained them. Ever since, their numbers had dwindled. While they remained advanced, each generation grew smaller, each birth rarer. Often, they would speak late into the evening. Alira would bring him to a rooftop garden under Veridian 4's twinkling sky, where the shimmering leaves of tall, vine-like plants danced in the breeze. There, they would look upon the tapestry of alien constellations. Sometimes, Ryan would share stories from his Earth upbringing, simple childhood joys, the taste of his mother's home-cooked meals, the sound of wind rustling through earthly pine trees. Other times, Alira recounted the legends of her people, great physicians who once ventured to the far corners of the galaxy, healing planets ravaged by plague or war, forging ephemeral but profound bonds with alien races. In the hush of one such night, a deeper conversation emerged. Ryan sat cross-legged on a cushioned mat, while Alira knelt opposite him, her hair gleaming under the planet's twin moons. A soft glow from the radiant flora cast gentle highlights on her face. He could no longer deny the change blossoming in his heart, an affection that transcended gratitude. Her presence soothed him. Her voice banished his darkest fears, and when she smiled, it stirred emotions he had not felt in years. He summoned the courage to speak. "I can't fully explain the feelings inside me," he began tentatively, eyes drifting to the swirling patterns on the garden floor. "But you've shown me a kindness and patience that have warmed my spirit. Perhaps it's my changed biology talking, or maybe it's simply your own nature, but, Alira, I care for you." Her face remained serene, though her eyes shone with unspoken emotion. "Ryan," she replied softly, "I sense this bond too. Long before you spoke these words, my heart recognized a kinship in you, a resonance that transcends physical transformation. I have traveled many star systems as a physician, yet never have I encountered a human such as you, so open of mind and spirit. I am drawn to you as well." Her confession lifted a great weight from Ryan's soul. Tenderly, he took her hand, feeling the softness of her violet skin. The air between them seemed charged, as though the entire planet held its breath for their union. Yet nothing was rushed. They merely exchanged a look, a gaze of mutual understanding and dawning love. In the days that followed, rumors spread through the colony. Whispers circulated that the human pilot and the esteemed Dr. Alira shared an unorthodox closeness. Few among the Veridians had ever known or even imagined such intimacy could bloom between alien and native. Some looked on in hope, others in skepticism. A quiet tension settled among them, an apprehension for what might come next. Meanwhile, Alira's personal health wavered. She had given so much of her healing essence to Ryan that she had taxed her own body's reserves. On multiple occasions, Ryan noticed her leaning against a wall, breathing heavily. Her radiant complexion had dulled. He could not bear the thought of her suffering for his sake. So he pleaded with her to cease the treatments, at least until she regained her strength. She refused. "Your injuries may appear healed, but the final stage of cellular integration still requires my essence. Without it, the transformation could stall or cause complications within your body." She brushed a gentle hand across his cheek, as if to reassure him. "I can endure." Knowing her dedication, Ryan sought ways to reciprocate, offering her something, anything, to aid her recovery. He conferred with a few other Veridians, gleaning insight into her people's dietary needs. Through late-night experimentation in the colony's nutritional labs, he pieced together a supplement that mirrored the vitamins and minerals her body required. He brought the concoction to her, urging her to drink it. She smiled warmly, grateful for the gesture. Yet, unknown to him, a more significant transformation was unfolding, one that would render all such small kindnesses trivial by comparison. It happened one morning, weeks after their rooftop confessions, when Alira called him to a private examination room. Gone was the typical bustle of the colony's main medical bay, replaced by an intimate stillness. She looked anxious, her slender fingers twisting together as she regarded him from across a polished table. "Ryan," she said softly, "I have news that is unprecedented." Her voice trembled with anticipation. "I performed an extensive scan of my body, prompted by certain symptoms I could not ignore. What I've discovered is nothing short of miraculous." His heart fluttered. He recalled her earlier hints at feeling unwell, but he had assumed it was her drained reserves. "Tell me," he urged. Tears glimmered in her silver eyes. "I am carrying a child. I am pregnant." Silence descended, broken only by the faint hum of equipment. Ryan stared at her, mind reeling. In all his time among her people, never had he seen or heard mention of cross-species conception. The notion seemed impossible, scientifically improbable. Yet here Alira stood, trembling with both vulnerability and joy. "How is that possible?" he asked, though not in disbelief. If anything, he felt an overwhelming awe. "The changes in your DNA, combined with my repeated infusions of essence, created a bridge, stronger than even I imagined. The small portion of my genetics that now resides in you must have reacted with my own body. And the result is a hybrid child. In the centuries of our recorded history, no such event has ever occurred. She paused, swallowing. We do not know the ramifications. My people will not reject this child. They celebrate all life. But there is fear. Our biology was already on the brink of a crucial juncture. A hybrid birth could either become a lifeline for our future or something no one can predict. Yet I cannot bring myself to worry over these uncertainties, for my heart is filled with hope. Thanks to you. Without warning, a profound wave of emotion crashed over Ryan. He took a step forward, gently enfolding her in his arms, mindful of her delicate condition. I'm here, he managed, voice thick with emotion. This is beyond anything I ever imagined, but I'll stand by you. We'll face it together. She leaned her forehead against his shoulder, allowing a few tears to fall. Thank you. I never intended for any of this, but I cannot regret it. For the first time, I feel the stirrings of new possibilities, the promise that our species might survive. Word spread rapidly through the colony, igniting curiosity, excitement, and a dash of trepidation. The leaders, known as the Council of Healers, called a special meeting to discuss the unprecedented development. Ryan and Alira stood before them, dwarfed by the vaulted chamber. Concentric rings of Veridians sat in quiet deliberation, their gazes fixed on the couple. Seated in the chamber's center was High Counselor Seraphon, an elder whose age was evident in the faint silver lines tracing his temples. He, too, possessed eyes of a penetrating silver hue, but has carried the weight of centuries. Dr. Alira, Captain Ryan Drake, he began, his voice a warm baritone that vibrated through the high ceilings. The Council wishes to extend our gratitude for the hope you have brought us. This child you carry, this extraordinary union, may herald the dawn of a new era for our people. Yet, we must proceed with caution, ensuring that the child's health, as well as yours, Dr. Alira, remains paramount. We stand ready to offer any resource at our disposal. Alira bowed, her robes softly brushing the floor. Thank you, honored counselor. I am prepared to submit to any tests or protocols necessary, so we might learn from this phenomenon and safeguard my child. Ryan offered a formal nod. I pledge the same. I will do whatever I can to assist in your research or in ensuring my partner's well-being. Murmurs of approval traveled through the assembled Veridians. Once, their race had traveled across galaxies, revered as healers and guardians of life. Now, ironically, they stood at a precipice where a human might be part of their salvation. The meeting adjourned with unified resolve to protect both mother and child, and to handle this matter with the dignity it deserved. The pregnancy progressed swiftly by human standards, though by Veridian biology, it was slower than normal. Alira's body adapted, forging new pathways of energy to sustain the nascent life within her. Ryan, meanwhile, assisted in analyzing every test result, each scan, every subtle shift in her physiology. Researchers discovered that the hybrid child manifested traits from both species in delicate balance. Where Veridian children typically gestated for 4 of their moon cycles, and human children around 9 Earth months, this new timeline remained uncertain. Each week brought new developments, new possibilities. In the early months, Alira's body exhibited mild fluctuations in her vital signs. Her heart rate spiked unpredictably, and her essence levels dipped, requiring her to carefully pace the healing infusions she performed in the medical bay. Ryan's own physiology continued to morph in subtle ways. He found he could sense Alira's emotions more acutely, almost as if their bond extended beyond mere empathy. When she was troubled, his chest tightened. When she was elated, he felt joy flutter like wings within his ribcage. Among the colony, speculation ran wild. Some believed the child would bear the crucial healing gene in a purer, stronger form, gifting a second chance at life to a dying race. Others fretted about unforeseen mutations, a catastrophic error in nature's design that might bring heartbreak rather than salvation. Caught between these extremes, Ryan and Alira tried to keep their days tranquil, focusing on small joys. An evening stroll through the luminescent gardens, a quiet reading session in the library's hush, moments of quiet repose where they held each other's hands, letting their hearts speak words that transcended language. At length, the day, or night, rather, of the child's arrival dawned unexpectedly. Alira had retired early, feeling a curious tightness in her abdomen. Ryan had just settled in another chamber, reviewing data logs from the ongoing research. A sudden flash of pain rippled through Alira, forcing her to cry out. He rushed to her side, finding her doubled over, breath ragged. "It's happening," she managed between gasps. "Too soon, perhaps, but the child is coming." A flurry of motion ensued. Ryan called for medical help, and within minutes, Alira was transferred to a specialized birthing suite, its walls shimmering with built-in life support conduits. The hum of equipment mingled with the soft chanting of Veridian healers. The council had ensured every resource was available for this critical moment. Despite the advanced technology, the experience was also deeply organic, reminiscent of an ancient ritual. Bowls containing soothing scents lined the suite, gentle ambient lights pulsed in rhythm with Alira's contractions, and 4 Veridian midwives worked in concert, guiding her through each wave of pain. Ryan stood at her side, heart pounding, hand clasping hers, their fingers interwoven. Hours trickled by. Pain etched itself in lines across Alira's normally tranquil face. Sweat glistened on her brow, and her eyes flared silver with each powerful surge. She gritted her teeth, forcing her body to comply with the unstoppable natural force. The chanting swelled, melodic notes weaving through the tension-filled air. Ryan whispered encouragement in her ear, voice trembling with an equal measure of concern and hope. Then, in a final, monumental effort, a cry split the hush of anticipation. A newborn's wail echoed through the chamber, small yet strong, an unmistakable herald of life. The midwives carefully tended the infant, cleaning and wrapping the child in a warm, bioluminescent cloth. One of them turned to Alira with a beaming smile, her own eyes brimming with tears. "It is done," she announced with quiet reverence. "Mother and child are safe." In the hush that followed, Ryan found himself breathless. Alira lay back, exhausted but radiating elation. The midwife gingerly placed the child in her arms. Ryan's gaze settled on the tiny being cradled against Alira's chest. The baby's skin was a soft hue, somewhere between human pallor and Veridian violet, the eyes squinting open to reveal faint silver irises. A strange quiver of awe swept through him. Tears blurred his vision as he reached down to tenderly touch the child's little hand. "Hello, my miracle," Alira whispered, voice shaking. "Hello, my child." Ryan could only nod, words failing him. A tide of emotion surged within him, love, wonder, and a realization that he had become something more than just a lone pilot or even a patient. He was now a father, forging a new chapter in the galaxy's saga of life. In the weeks following the birth, the colony's atmosphere grew charged with optimism. Researchers meticulously examined the newborn's genetic makeup. They found, to their astonishment, that the healing gene within Alira's species shone brightly in the child's DNA. Not only was it present, but it seemed robust and stable, potentially marking a turning point for the Veridians' threatened future. The colony buzzed with speculation on how this development could revitalize their entire race. Carefully, they planned methods to replicate the child's genetic pattern, though always with respect for the sanctity of life. Politically, the news caused ripples beyond Veridian for other colonies and allied species across the galaxy requested updates on the phenomenon, their curiosity piqued by rumors of a human Veridian hybrid whose birth might change the course of medical science. For Ryan, these interstellar echoes felt distant, overshadowed by his devotion to Alira and their child. He named the baby Aurora, a nod to both Earth's legendary dawn lights and the luminous essence of Alira's people. Aurora embodied new beginnings, bridging worlds once separated by light years of distance and eons of evolutionary divergence. Each day, Ryan would cradle Aurora, marveling at her tiny fingers and her curious gaze, noticing the way her eyes glowed faintly with the silver of her mother's lineage. Alira watched them, contentment smoothing away all traces of weariness. She explained that in Veridian tradition, a child is considered the sum of all ancestral hopes, a living testament to the continuity of life. In Aurora's case, that tradition took on an almost cosmic significance. Gradually, an official ceremony was arranged by the council, an event to acknowledge Aurora's birth as a momentous milestone. Held in the largest dome of the colony, festooned with living vines and vibrant blossoms, the ceremony drew nearly every Veridian inhabitant. A hush fell as Ryan, Alira, and tiny Aurora approached the dais. High Counselor Seraphon stood there, solemn yet radiant, arms extended in welcome. "Behold," he proclaimed, voice echoing among the assembled throng, "the living bond between our species and humanity. Through trust and compassion, we have transcended barriers once thought impregnable. May Aurora be a symbol, not just of our renewal, but of the unity possible across the galaxy." Thunderous applause followed, though in the Veridian style, soft pulses of hand-to-chest gestures and melodic tones that resonated in the lofty dome. Ryan and Alira exchanged grateful smiles. There, under the shimmering glow of communal celebration, Aurora cooed, her small mouth curving in what might have been the beginnings of a smile. Hope blossomed in every heart present. Weeks turned to months, and the child thrived. Alira's health fully restored. She resumed her duties in the medical bay, albeit with fewer hours to focus on nurturing Aurora. Ryan, stepping into a new role of fatherhood, found himself learning more about the Veridian ways of childcare, which emphasized physical closeness, gentle sound therapy, and mental exercises that shaped a child's burgeoning mind. He found these methods surprisingly intuitive, melding nicely with certain Earth customs. Beyond the simple joys of family life, Ryan also explored ways to help the Veridians harness Aurora's genetic gifts ethically. Collaborating with Alira and other scientists, he provided samples of his own altered DNA, enabling them to replicate the bridging process. After rigorous ethical debates, they launched small-scale pilot programs, carefully testing how to bolster the next generation of Veridians with the newly discovered synergy. Encouraging results emerged. Several adult Veridians, once infertile or burdened by crippling genetic deficiencies, showed improvement after receiving carefully tailored treatments inspired by Aurora's DNA. Sperm and egg viability soared in laboratory settings, fueling cautious optimism that the Veridians' fertility crisis could be reversed. For the first time in centuries, a sense of collective relief and excitement pervaded the colony. Plans were made to share these breakthroughs with outposts scattered on other worlds. The colony's healers sent out coded transmissions, inviting diaspora communities to return to participate in an era of healing and regeneration. But no great change occurs without resistance. Hidden among the exuberant majority were those who held fast to traditional views, certain that a hybrid child undermined the purity of their lineage. A small faction emerged, led by a stoic Veridian named Enerin, who believed that the solution to their genetic plight lay in unwavering adherence to ancient protocols. For them, forging a new future with human DNA was akin to sacrificing the essence of what it meant to be Veridian. At first, their protests were hushed, confined to small gatherings, subtle glances of disapproval, or whispered doubts in corridors. Yet as Aurora's influence grew, so too did their fervor. Enerin's group approached the council, demanding a cessation of further hybrid-inspired research until they could ascertain no corruption of the Veridian identity would ensue. High Counselor Seraphon listened to their grievances with calm composure, reminding them that the colony's survival depended on adaptation and unity. Still, tensions simmered. Enerin delivered fiery speeches outside the medical complex, insisting that the colony had turned its back on centuries of tradition, placing its future in the hands of alien meddling. Ryan, while rarely crossing paths with Enerin directly, heard enough to understand the fear fueling such sentiments. Rather than resent these detractors, he tried to empathize. Fear of the unknown was not unique to humans. He had seen it on countless worlds. So he extended an olive branch, inviting Enerin and a few of his followers to witness the laboratory procedures firsthand. There, Ryan calmly explained each step, how the new genetic sequences were integrated, how the process aimed to restore and preserve the Veridians' unique traits, not replace or dilute them. Some softened their stance, persuaded by the earnestness of Ryan's endeavor. Others, locked in the rigid fortress of their own beliefs, departed unconvinced. Despite the opposition, The colony's leadership stood firm on the path of inclusive progression. With the majority of Veridians embracing Aurora's birth as a turning point in their civilization, the faction led by Inarin dwindled into near irrelevance. As time flowed onward, the transformation of Veridian society became evident. Not only did their population begin inching upward, thanks to improved fertility and successful births among those who underwent the hybridated therapy, but their general morale soared. The colony took on the aura of a renaissance, with new art, music, and literature blossoming. Themes of hope, rebirth, and cross-species kinship wove through every creative endeavor. The once isolated outpost on Veridian grew into a hub of innovation and study. Interstellar travelers arrived to witness the miracle child and learn from the colony's methods. Ambassadors from allied planets came with well wishes, curious to see if the synergy between human and Veridian DNA could lead to a broader, cosmic unity. Ryan found himself at the center of these diplomatic exchanges, sharing details of his experiences, while Alira served as the living example of how bridging species could yield wonders beyond imagining. In a sense, Ryan had never truly felt he belonged anywhere. As a cargo pilot drifting from system to system, he had lived in the cracks of the galaxy. Now, he found a purpose so profound it humbled him. When he looked upon Alira, and especially Aurora, he realized he had discovered a home that resonated with every beat of his heart. The swirling architecture, the sweet air, the luminescent gardens, Veridian, was no longer just a place of forced refuge. It was the cradle of his new life. For Alira, the blossoming of their relationship and the arrival of Aurora rekindled an ancient flame of devotion to her profession. With each new success in the medical labs, each Veridian child born healthy after years of fruitless attempts, she felt a surge of pride and wonder. She had always believed in the sanctity of life. Now she had helped birth an entire new possibility for her people. Aurora herself grew quickly, displaying a remarkable aptitude for empathy and calmness. She showed no signs of the ailments that once plagued Veridian children, no hint of stunted growth or vulnerability. Instead, she bubbled with curiosity, her bright eyes taking in the world as if every leaf and whisper of wind were a treasure waiting to be discovered. She babbled in a mix of nascent Veridian speech patterns and earth-based coups, forging her own language in the universal dialect of innocence. In time, as Aurora approached her first cycle of life, a milestone for the Veridians, another grand ceremony was planned. This time, it encompassed not just the child, but the colony's rebirth as well. The council commissioned new structures to be grown, culminating in a spectacular amphitheater brimming with flora that glowed in vibrant hues. Leaves of emerald and gold draped every arch, while luminescent petals rained gently upon the dais. When the day arrived, the entire colony attended, joined by many off-world delegates. High Counselor Seraphon stood at the center of the amphitheater, with Ryan, Alira, and Aurora beside him. The child, clad in a soft robe woven from living threads, gazed at the gathering with wide silver eyes, her small hands reaching out as though to grasp the swirling motes of light. Seraphon's address soared through the amphitheater. 1 year ago, our people teetered on the precipice of decline, our hopes dimming. Yet the cosmos is full of surprises, and our path was forever changed when Captain Ryan Drake crashed onto Veridian 4. Our beloved Dr. Alira saved his life, and in doing so, the seeds of a new future were sown. Today, we celebrate Aurora, the living bridge between our worlds, a testament to the power of compassion and unity. But we also celebrate us, the Veridians who have welcomed the unknown with bravery, forging a path beyond mere survival toward vibrant renewal. A chorus of melodic cheers erupted, resonating through the amphitheater. Ryan could barely contain his pride, tears glistening as he held Aurora in his arms. Alira watched on, her face radiant, reflecting the newfound hope that pulsed in every Veridian heart. Then, as the crowd quieted, Seraphon turned to Aurora. Carefully, he touched her forehead, reciting a short blessing. Child of two worlds, may you shine as a beacon of harmony for all who gaze upon you. Aurora cooed in response, her little hands clapping together. The amphitheater erupted again in joyous celebration, a surge of jubilation that felt like a cosmic chord being struck. For a moment, the boundaries between species, the divides of distance and biology, vanished in the face of collective wonder. In the aftermath of the celebration, life on Veridian found a gentle rhythm. Ryan and Alira settled into the daily joys and trials of parenthood. Aurora's presence graced every corner of the colony, inspiring new research, new art, and fresh bursts of optimism. The cargo pilot, once fated to crash and perish on an alien world, had not only survived but become a cornerstone of its revival. As Aurora continued to thrive, the colony reached out to other human settlements, forging cooperative ventures in healing and science. Humans arrived to learn from the Veridians, sharing Earthborn perspectives in return. Bonds of friendship blossomed, bridging the gap between worlds once separated by suspicion or apathy. Inarin and his faction, their fears gradually allayed by the undeniable benefits of the new genetic approach, put down their grievances. Some among them even apologized, acknowledging that times change and that clinging to old beliefs can sometimes blind one to the wonders of possibility. The colony approached a unity it had not known for generations, bolstered by the unassailable evidence that cross-species cooperation could save them. For Ryan, the final step in his journey of belonging involved the official ceremony of acceptance into the Veridian community. Gathered once again in a circle of their peers, the council invited him to recite a simple oath, to uphold the ethos of healing and respect for all life, to remain a guardian of the hope ignited by Aurora's birth. Heart pounding with humility and pride, Ryan agreed, voice reverberating with resolve. They bestowed upon him a new name, in the Veridian tongue, signifying light-bearer from afar. Though the alien syllables felt strange on his tongue, he repeated them with reverence, sealing his bond with a civilization that had become his true family. He turned to Alira, who stood radiant beside him, Aurora tucked against her chest. Their eyes met in a tender moment of quiet. Here, at the culmination of a journey none could have foreseen, a sense of contentment flooded every corner of Ryan's being. Epilogue: The Wings of Tomorrow. Years passed in a gentle swirl of peace and progress. Alira and Ryan, side by side, watched Aurora grow into a spirited youth, her every milestone celebrated by the entire colony. The child's presence shifted the gravitational center of Veridian. Travelers from across the stars arrived not just to gawk at a hybrid, but to witness firsthand the undeniable synergy that healed wounds once thought incurable. Under Aurora's influence, a new generation of Veridians, infused with a stable version of the healing gene, blossomed across the planet. The birth rates soared, families thrived, and a sense of boundless possibility suffused the air. Even enclaves on other planets reported similar triumphs, as the therapy based on Aurora's DNA spread through the diaspora. It was a renaissance that none had dared dream of, now made real. Ryan, no longer just a pilot, had found a calling in bridging worlds, forging alliances between humans and Veridians, traveling to various starports to share the success of Veridian medical breakthroughs. He always returned to Alira's side, to the luminous gardens, the curved architecture, and the gentle hum of the place he called home. There, Aurora would greet him with an enthusiastic squeal, bounding into his arms. Alira would smile her quiet, radiant smile, reminding him that miracles can be born from the darkest of moments, like a crash landing that unexpectedly delivered him into a new life. And so it was that, against all odds, Ryan Drake's story did not end in flames upon Veridian 4. Instead, it blossomed into one of the galaxy's greatest legends. How a human and an alien doctor came together to heal more than just a broken body, bridging two species in a tapestry woven of courage, trust, and a love that transcended the gulf of time and space. As the sun of Veridian 4 set one evening, painting the horizon in deep oranges and violets, Ryan held Alira close, their daughter playing in the shimmering courtyard. His heart brimmed with gratitude and quiet wonder. He recalled the day he had nearly died in a fiery wreck, the day destiny had spun out of control, only to lead him to a profound purpose. Here, beneath an alien sky, the gentle hush of leaves and the promise of another tomorrow cradled them. And so, With every breath, he understood that his crash landing had not been an end, but the beginning of an uncharted journey that saved an entire race from extinction, proving that when two souls open their hearts to each other, the boundaries between worlds can melt away, replaced by a future that glows with hope, renewal, and the unbreakable bond of life itself.